regarding Ghana's decision election 2020. Here at your Election Command Center, we're bringing you specific results from specific constituencies as declared by the Electoral Commission officials in those constituencies. We are starting from the English Botiano.
18. And we have the Platin obtain a vote of 9. Hassan Ayariga obtain a vote of 14. Kofi Festival Palu obtain a vote of 17. Obtain a vote of 15. Brigid Benuku obtain a vote of 22. Nana Konedu Ajimawale obtain a vote of 11. After Pesi Asia Duwaka, the results for presidential election in Abuja. And at the end, the total valid ballot was 94,999. And we had rejected ballots of 1,147. And then the total vote cast was 96,146. Thank you. And these are the results for the presidential election of the Now, I would like to declare the parliamentary election for Abuja Central constituency. At the end of the election, we had 4 candidates contesting for the parliamentary election. First candidate number 1, Martin Ebenezer Gilbertina Nina, obtained a vote of 46,836. Abdul Latif Dan, 47,040. Christabel Echi obtained a vote of 333. Apia Dankwa Sampo obtained a vote of 442. At the end of the election, the total valid ballot was 94,651. The total rejected ballot was 569. Total vote cast was 95,000. That me as the returning officer for the electoral Commission of Abuja Central. I hereby declare
the Ablekuma Central constituency has just finished giving out the provisional figures as counted in the presence of all the parties. And we're bringing you the exact numbers he mentioned. Because of the break in transmission, we couldn't get the exact numbers for the presidential. However, I'm sure, Bella, you're able to capture the parliamentary numbers he mentioned. Can you walk us through it?
And looking at the numbers that they have put out, it looks as if the incumbent has unfortunately lost his seat. Ebenezer Nina polled 46,836, and NDC's Abdul Latif Dan got 47,040. And he also mentioned Christabel Anku, I believe, 333, and a number of other minority parties as well. So looking at the numbers, NDC's Abdul Latif Dan is in the lead with 47,040 stories. And so that means that constituency of Ablekuma Central has been taken from the NPP. It's gone to the NDC's Abdul Latif Dan, and Ebenezer Nina is out of parliament. I will bring you more numbers when we're able to verify the presidential results from the Ablekuma Central constituency. But now let's move on to another constituency where the CEO of the National Youth Authority, Sylvester Tete, has won the Botiano English Yaman from constituency seat. Now he polled 42,806 votes to beat Alexander Akweku of the NDC, who secured 37,502 and intends to seek legal redress to get the results overturned.
So road, health, infrastructure, education, and these are things we've already started. So it's a continuity. And of course, I'm happy to be the president as well as my second term as we go into 2020. I'm on for supporters of one bar, as a party, MPP as a party, I'm in too. What the caca, they were only said, I don't know what to do. Party, when you build a strong party, it doesn't matter who they only never come. And not even building a stronger party. They win it 2 on the road. The third one will come, the fourth one will come, the fifth one will come, the sixth one will come, the seventh one will come, the eighth one.
We've been here since yesterday. You saw what happened here. 127B. Where do you conduct elections and presiding officers take results home, sleep over it and bring it the next day? Since when in this country? Take results are sent through WhatsApp. Have you heard some before in this country?
So when we asked him these questions, he mentioned that the presiding officers put some of the thing sheets in some of the
that is a lie. That is a lie. And that is a lie of Mr. Mingo. Mr. Mingo is the brain behind all these things. He's the brain behind all these things. That is his lie. And we will not fall for his lies.
So you're saying you're not decided to seek legal action?
Definitely.
How soon are you looking at this?
You know, electoral laws, we work within time limits. So as soon as possible, we'll talk to our lawyers, and whatever they advise, that is exactly what we will do. And then I don't think it will take long. It will be soon. But these results, like I've said, need to be reversed. The people's verdict must be respected.
We're bringing you some more reactions and results from the various constituencies. The incumbent NDC MP for Clottey Korle, Dr. Zanetta Rawlings, has retained her seat. She polled 39,193 votes, beating her contender Prince Apia Deborah of the New Patriotic Party, who polled 31,239 votes.
The Korle Clottey constituency, and the coalition center is Accra Arts Center, and that's where since last night all the coalition has been done. As you can see behind me, the EC officials have been racking their brains. This is where all the, for now it's all mathematics happening here at the Arts Center, putting the numbers together and just making sure that the announcement after the coalition is done is legitimate, at least can be accepted by all the parties involved. So talking about the parties, in the presidential we've got 12 aspirants, as we know, and the numbers after 166 polling station results have been validated by these EC officials. The NDC have 26,767 votes. I repeat, it's 26,767 votes. For the MPP, it's 24,294 votes. That is what it is right now after 166 polling station, ballot papers. All the results have been validated by the EC officials here at the Coalition Center. JUM actually have surprised a lot of people here. They have 252 votes. After the presidential, votes were counted. After 166, remember, I keep repeating, only 166 of the polling stations here have been validated so far. Also, CPP have 45, GFD have 17, the GCPP have 16, APC have 7, LPG have 14, PNC have 9, PPP have 34. Remember, Nana Konadu Ajiman Rawlings, the former First Lady, is also from this constituency. That's where she votes. And, she had 18 votes. So 18 votes is exactly what she had here. The independent candidates also had 5 votes. In total, it was 52,021 votes that were cast over here at the Korle Klottey constituency. That is after 166 polling stations, have been validated. I keep maintaining that. And valid out of that 52,021 valid votes there were 51,478, and then for the rejected are 543. So that's what we had here after 166, polling station, votes have been validated so far. I'm sure pretty shortly we are going to be getting very close to an announcement. So just keep an eye on that. For the parliamentary, which is also very interesting, Zaneto Rawlings, after 166 polling stations, it's actually in the lead with 28,292,000 votes. But Prince Appiah, he says Shiasani, he is actually giving Zaneto, a run for her money. 22,837 votes so far. LPG have 140. Valid is 51,269. Rejected are 348. Total cast 51,617. So that's just by way of letting you know exactly what's happening here.
Now, let's go to the Ablekuma South constituency, where Alfred Oko van der Poel has also been announced as the winner for that seat.
Bernard Brown of MPP had 23,198. Alfred Oko van der Poel had 36,896. So total vote cast for Ablekuma South for this election for parliamentary is 60,596, 60596. On behalf of the chairperson and Ablekuma South office, I declare Alfred Oko van der Poel of the NDC duly elected as the MP for Ablekuma South.
To be declared the winner in the parliamentary elections as the MP elect for Ablekuma South. I take this opportunity to thank the people of Ablekuma South, those who voted for me and those who did not vote for me. I thank everybody. I thank my opponent and his party, the NPP. It is my prayer and my hope that we will all live together as the great people of Ablekuma South. We have work to do in Ablekuma South. I will continue to represent everybody in Ablekuma South in our great parliament. I look forward to the election of my presidential candidate, former President John Dramani Mahama, as the next president of the Republic of Ghana.
All right, so we are bringing you a lot more of the results certified from the various constituencies, and we're going to the Ablekuma North constituency, I should say, where we are told that the results they have also been declared. Let's find out what exactly was said, what the numbers are. Then we'll probably try and give you a history of some of the constituencies on how they are looking at. But the man who just won that seat in the story that we just brought to you is popularly known as Chenche, or the former mayor of Accra. He has retained the seat, and we're going to look at the numbers as of what he got in 2016 and 2020 shortly. Bella, I mean, as a mayor, it probably must have played a role in he retaining the seat, although he seemed to have had some kind of competition from the NPP's candidate.
I think so. And I mean, looking at the gap between the number, the figure that he got in 2016 as against what he won with in 2020, you can tell that there's been a stretch. In 2016, he got about 45% of the votes. And then in 2020, he got over 60% of the votes. So that means that whatever it is that he was doing, he probably did it very well.
Increase
exactly. And that's why the people decided to not only retain him, but also give him a bigger margin than what he got in 2016.
You're right about this. In fact, we were in the constituency for the constituency debate as well. One of the things that we picked up is a predominantly fishing community as well. And so there are issues with the outboard motors, which were being sold to them, according to some of them bought it at exorbitantly high prices. And they were asking why, because there was a specific amount that government announced that they were supposed to buy it for. But then again, they were being sold to them with some much more margins added to them. So that's one of the major concerns that they had. And so you had Alfred Kovanda give them consistent assurance. And when these fisher folk have concerns, it directly impacts on the incumbent, especially because it is a problem or it's an issue that is government-led.
Yeah.
The sale of outboard motors is a government intervention or a policy, you see. And so that's where, even though it was subsidized, the prices for the outboard motors were subsidized, but it was still being bought by these fisher folk at a higher price because of the chain through which it goes.
Yeah.
Even though government will subsidize it, some group of people who have some associations in the various departments and ministries will now go and take the outboard motors and come and sell it.
And sell it.
So it was one of the,
fisher
it was a
That was one
concern
of
for
the
the
major
folk.
issues that they had.
But did he play a role in trying to resolve or iron out those kinds of...
So yes, that's where during that debate, they made the point that he tried to meet a number of them. In fact, they have these groups in the area, the associations. So he meets them regularly to understand their concerns. And, they used to have this way of preserving the fish. Alfred Kovanda at the time also introduced some modern ways of the preservation of their fish. So it's something that really was of great concern to them, and they got that assurance that he was going to address it. So I'm not really surprised that this is playing out this way for the NDC in that conference.
In his favor, right. So this is still your election command center. We are going straight to the English Amanfrom constituency where my colleague Grace Hamo-Asare has joined us. Grace, we're told that there was earlier a dispute, a disagreement between some two folk. What can you tell us and what's the current situation? Hello, Grace, can you hear me? Kindly unmute your microphone so we can hear you as well.
Is it better now? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. So the disagreement was about the delay in announcing the winner of the two elections, that is the parliamentary and then that's of the presidential, and then the fact that the NDC had earlier raised issues concerning some pink sheets and the fact that they were not around when the coalition was being done. But finally, the results have been able to put together, and the parliamentary candidates for the NPP, who is also the CEO of the National Youth Authority, Sylvester Tete, has been announced victorious in the parliamentary election. He polled some 42,806 votes against Alexander Kwaku's 37,502 votes. Alexander Kwaku, who is contesting on the ticket of the NDC, has rejected the vote and says he's going to seek legal advice, and so he's going to challenge the results because they think there were some form of anomalies and some irregularities, and the result that the presiding officers have given out is not what is the will of the constituents or the electorate in this constituency. So in the coming days, we should be looking forward to a legal tussle between the NPP and the NDC. But the presiding officers, we give them the chance to respond to these allegations by the NDC, and they said, well, it is in their remit to seek legal redress if they are not satisfied with the process so far. But so far as they are concerned, they did what is right, and they have given us the results according to what was presented to them. So they'll be looking forward to any form of redress that the NDC would want to be seeking to address the results that they've given out here, Martin. But yeah.
Yep. I thought you wanted to mention what the presidential figures were. We didn't seem to have caught that.
Nothing. We are still collating presidential results. Okay. Interestingly, polls closed. It's been almost 24 hours since polls closed here at English Yamafrom, but we are still collating presidential results. We don't have any figures now when it comes to presidential results. The presiding officer has assured us that they should be doing that in the next between 10 and 20 minutes, and so when it comes out, I'll give it out. But in the 2016 elections, the NPP won the seats when it comes to both presidential and parliamentary. So there is a likelihood that the same thing will be repeated, especially now that the NPP has also won the parliamentary seat with over 42,000 votes as compared to the 26,000 votes they polled in the 2016 elections.
Grace, just a quick question as well, because some hours ago, I think before the counting began, Sylvester Tete had also mentioned or alleged that the electrical infrastructure had been tampered with. And so there was a need to fix that situation. How was it fixed? Did you have to move to another building on, in the same compound, or what exactly was done about that?
Yes, Bella, we had to move from the designated area to a new one. And that was also one of the reasons why the coalition delayed, because relocating and getting this place ready was a bit of an inconvenience. They wanted to fix the old place, but the electrician they engaged said it would take between 5,000 and 7,000 cedis to get the place fixed. And they were also going to need a lot of time to be able to put the place together. So we couldn't use it. That's why we had to come from the top floor down to here to be able to use. And there were also concerns that because this place was also on the down floor, it wasn't really security conscious, because it was giving a lot of access. But thankfully, to the presence of the security men who were here, they ensured that only the rightful people were inside the collation center. And so we were able to fix it. The headmaster of the school tells me the school will have to find a way to fix the electrical infrastructure here, because students are coming back. In fact, students are still in school, and that classroom is part of the boarding facility, and so they'll have to find a way to fix it, or the education or learning and studying will also suffer in the Christian Methodist Senior High School.
I see. Anyway, thank you so much, Grace, for speaking to us. And she's been coming to us from the Christian Methodist Senior High School Collation Center at English Yamafrom, where Sylvester Tete has been declared winner of that constituency. And
an interesting issue regarding that constituency is that the NDC candidate, in the case of Mr. Kwaku, he is a first-timer there. In 2016, he contested in the Okaikwe South constituency, still on the ticket of the NDC, lost, but then thought that his fortunes may be better when he goes to English Yamafrom. Unfortunately, he seems to have lost again. But like you heard Grace say, he says he's going to pursue it legally and see what goes on. Hopefully, he might get that to overturn in his favor. But the numbers are quite huge as well.
Alexander Kwaku, that's for the NDC. Yes. In fact, Sylvester Tete himself also has a history, because this is the first time he's contesting and winning this English Yamafrom Botiano constituency. He contested Sam George in 2016 in Ningo Pram, and he was defeated. And so he decided that he was going to test his might in another constituency as well. So both of them sort of cross-coupled from other constituencies to try and test their might in this new constituency, if you want to put it that way, because clearly Sam George has a hold on the Ningo Pram constituency. And if the margin of what we're seeing, we will get there as we go on, the margin of what you're seeing for Sam George's victory is anything to go by. It was a huge stretch. As a matter of fact, when we went there to do the debate, he was predicting some 80%. It's between the range of about 60 to 70, 75% thereabout. We'll see. But it was an increase as against what Sam George won that Ningo Pram constituency with in 2016. That clearly tells you the inroads that Sam George is making in that Ningo Pram constituency. Just to note. But these two are relatively new to that's the Botiano English Yamafrom constituency. At a point where you asked that question about the lights going off. In
Yeah.
fact, we picked up this information just when voting began. Yesterday. Grace Amosari indicated that this is a school building. That's where they're using for the coalition center. The lights went off at 2 a.m. 2 a.m. on December 7th. And they needed that amount of money, between 5,000 and 7,000 cedis to fix it. And so we knew that it was going to impact on the coalition process and the final declaration of the results for the parliamentary at least. But it's just what? That's about 3:30 now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's almost 4 p.m. Yes.
And we are yet
that's what at least they have gotten for this Botiano English from constituency. We're also picking information that Ponkatamanso, the ballots are still being counted in Ponkataman's constituency. The same with Dom Kwabenya. As at the time we came on air, we understand that there was military presence in one of the areas in Dom Kwabenya because of the tempest flaring there amongst party agents over the delay in declaration of election results by the issue officials as at that time. Okay, but the situation as we speak now has been calm so far over the last 30 to 45 minutes. And so we'll see how the situation looks like with the Dom Kwabenya constituency. And as we indicated earlier, so as long as we're dealing with provisional results, the complexion of these constituencies will keep changing. And that's why we don't want to deal with these absolute figures until the Electoral Commission actually puts out some of these things. So per these provisional results and analysis, you would have us do this based on the indications we get from the provisional results as we put out earlier. But the complexion will change when the absolute figures come and are announced by the Electoral Commission.
Right, Alfred, thank you. Let's go to the Central Region now. Incumbent Member of Parliament for the Wutusenya East constituency, Mavis Hawa Kumsin, has retained her seat. And you'll recall that that constituency earlier, we heard that there were some gunshots fired. 2 people were injured. 1 was treated and discharged. The other was still on admission as of about 3 hours ago when we were following the story. However, we're told that the Member of Parliament, the incumbent, has retained her seat. Let's go and take a look at that story. Then we'll probably subject it to some analysis as well.
Well, yesterday you heard a whole lot of rumors. People thought they were going to use that one to get the seats. Like I mentioned earlier, I never went out yesterday. But I got the information that they said I was out there with a gun and I shot somebody down. So some of my people didn't even want to come out to vote. And those who wanted me said, no, if that be the case, they wouldn't vote for me. So few people didn't vote for me. But still, I won. That's the message. I won.
Thank you very much. So that's an insight from I beg your pardon, Mavis Hawa Kumsin, who had quite a number of controversy around her right from the registration process through the voting. And the news is that, the latest news regarding that constituency is that she has won. We're going to be bringing you some more stories from the other regions when we do get them in. But let's stay with Ablekuma North constituency, where Sheila Battels of the New Patriotic Party is said to have won that constituency. Clearly, it is one of the strongholds of the NPP in the Greater Accra region. And her father, Kwame Battels, former minister, was the MP for that area, held it for well over 2 terms. Then it changed hands. She came in for 2020 and has annexed that seat again. So let's take that story, then we'll come back in studio to have a chat.
Throughout Ghana for our lives, we know he has been working hard for us, and anyone who has worked hard deserves to be given another chance to continue his work, because what he is doing for us is what we need as a country. So I'm not surprised that the people of Ablekuma North have voted massively for His Excellency. He deserves it.
And what would you say to these people who are come out to support you in terms of
These people are my family, they are people understand our issues. And so I'm not surprised that they have voted for me this way. And I'm promising them that what we are going to do, what we have promised to do, we will do for them to be proud of the decision.
So that's Sheila Battles from the Ablekuma North constituency. And if you followed TV3's coverage of a number of the constituencies ahead of today's, December 7th election, we had predicted or actually analyzed a number of the constituencies. And for that particular constituency, we said it was a blue and was very likely to remain a blue constituency, and it seemed to have been so. So that was her reaction after the EC officials declared her as the winner of the constituency. So it looks as if going into the next 4 years, the NPP will be representing the people of Ablekuma North in Parliament. We'll bring you some other stories. Specifically, this one we have is in the Ashanti region, where some MPs have lost their seats. Some incumbent MPs have lost their seats in the Ashanti region. Before that, though, the presidential candidate of the NDP, Nana Konadu Agyeman-Rawlings, has satisfactorily said that the conduct of the December 7 polls went smoothly. She spoke while casting her ballot.
If we're doing electronic voting and a lot of the counting is done electronically, I don't see how it cannot be done within 24 hours or at most 36 hours. But I think that the lady has been very systematic in whatever she's doing. She's been telling all of us in Ghana how she's doing it. So I have no complaints about her at all.
What are your expectations after the counting?
I'll leave that for the future.
All right, so that's the former First Lady and NDP flag bearer and the widow of former President Jerry John Rawlings. But she was just talking about her observations with the processes leading up to the voting and the voting process itself. Let's come back and talk about a number of issues. We are told that Tema East constituency, persons have been jubilating. I think that is one of the constituencies that would have one of the slimmest margins.
In fact, earlier,
Titus Nee Glover is the man in question, NPP candidate. He won at some point in time with the slimmest margin to go to Parliament with 3 votes. This time around, the coin seemed to have shifted it against him. That's what we are told. We'll bring you the jubilation and the story regarding what's happening at the Tema East constituency shortly. Alfred, you wanted to talk about
that's
constituency.
Tema East. Because we're just moving in there, Tema East. Daniel Need Quartet Titus Glover is an incumbent member of Parliament for the Tema East constituency.
Yeah.
He is also a deputy minister as well. But you see, the incidents preceding December 7, where you recall the NDC's candidate, Isaac Ashai Odampton, was picked up because of some court issues.
Yeah.
He was then mayor, for one-time mayor of Tema. And you clearly could see the sentiments that it generated as a result of that particular action. You also recall that some disgruntled persons allegedly vandalized the office of the NPP in that constituency. Now, with what we are seeing right now, Isaac Ashai Odampton, Ajay Stephen Ajiete, Ghana Union Movement, the candidate, and Daniel Nee Quartet Titus Glover of the NPP. In fact, we saw some provisional results, not from here, earlier, with a certain slim margin. What we wanted to do was some of these constituencies that were too close to call, we had to wait down to the wire and see exactly how the situation will pan out. And it appears that there's some resolution to our suspense at the moment in the Tema East constituency. We'll find out exactly who is jubilating and who is lost in the Tema East constituency. But this is the information that we're getting now. a winner has been declared, at least for the parliamentary in the Tema East constituency. You recall that when both parties, NPP and the NDC, addressed the press, which we brought you the live coverage of, they both mentioned Tema East, that they had won Tema East. So one of the things that we did is to make sure that we don't get into those constituencies where you couldn't clearly tell the complexion of where it was going to swing. But we'll show you the video, and then you can clearly tell who is jubilating, at least in the Tema East constituency now. So let's see what's happening, or what's just been reported in the Tema East constituency, where Daniel Nii Quartey Titus Glover and Isaac Ashai Odamting of the NDC and AJ Stephen Ajiete of the Ghana Union Movement. We have some information coming in from there.
And so that is the result for the Tema East constituency for the presidential. This is not the first time John Dramani Mahama is winning the presidential post here in Tema East in 2012.
Now for the parliamentary.
And so we go straight to the parliamentary and let's hear what the EC returning officer has to say.
In parliamentary, Daniel Nii Quartey Titus Glover had 32,230. Isaac Ashai Odamting had 41,663. Ajay Stephen Ajiete for GUM had 578 votes. Total valid votes 74,471. Rejected votes 641. Total valid vote cast 75,112. Now, by the power vested in me, Odamting as parliamentary candidate elect.
Well, so there you have it. Now the answers to the questions about Tema East has been given by the Electoral Commission official there, announcing the results. So that is what is clear. Incumbent Member of Parliament Daniel Nii Quartey Titus Glover has lost that Tema East constituency seat, and it's now tossed over to the NDC, Isaac Ashai Odamting, one-time mayor, and then now Member of Parliament elect for the Tema East constituency. And then AJ Stephen Ajiete polled 578. That's for the Ghana Union Movement. And look at the margin between Isaac Ashai Odamting and the incumbent Member of Parliament, Daniel Nii Quartey Titus Glover. 41,663 as against 32,230. That's almost a little over 10,000 there, if you see. A little over 10,000.
That's about
difference
9,000 or so.
of votes in there.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. Looking at what happened, that it was.
Absolutely.
It always has been. And from the earlier submissions we got, it could tell that right from 2012, 2016, they voted skirt and blouse because although Titus Glover won the parliamentary, John Dramani Mahama was the presidential, won the presidential elections in that constituency. And we are from we didn't actually catch the presidential figures from the Tema East constituency. Our reporters there will give us the certified figures of what the presidential numbers look like. But the news is that Daniel Nii Quartey Titus Glover, Member of Parliament incumbent, has lost the seat. Although he won very marginally, he seemed to have lost with quite a huge
Not surprising
margin.
at all because of what happened quite recently, which is what you touched on. Because it then gave that, look that there was likely a possibility that, Isaac Odamtin was going to win because his people were not happy about the whole arrest and the fact that, they sort of painted him really bad when it came to that issue of him allegedly jumping bail and all that. So it was clear that it was going to go in his favor. I just wasn't expecting this margin. I thought that it was going to be a tight race between the two of them.
It will be interesting to see how the 2016 results really look like when we're getting there. But there's a statement that's just come through from the Electoral Commission. So this is information just coming in from the Electoral Commission, and I'm just going to read the statement verbatim. So the Electoral Commission informs the general public that to ensure that the collation of results at the constituency and regional collation centers across the country is accurate, the Electoral Commission will extend its intended timeline for declaring the 2020 presidential election results. The new timeline will be communicated shortly. So the new timeline will be communicated shortly, no more than 24 hours. The Commission has continually reiterated that transparency, integrity, and fairness are the yardstick by which it conducted the 2020 presidential and parliamentary elections. As such, to ensure that the declared presidential results are 100% accurate and reflective of the will of the people, the Commission entreats the public and all stakeholders to exercise patience as the collation process continues in the presence of political party agents and election observers. The Commission thanks all the registered voters that turned up in their numbers to vote on December 7, 2020, and reminds the public that it remains the only legally mandated body that can declare presidential and parliamentary election results in the country. So that is information coming in from the Electoral Commission, amending the timeline of the 24 hours, which is just about an hour away from elapsing. So this is just to let you know that they've reviewed the timeline. We're not expecting them to address the press at 5 p.m. as was expected, which was a 24-hour timeline. They are saying that they have to get the full complement of the 275 constituency results of the 38,622 polling stations that voting took place in all. That's on December 7. And I think this was expected when we were having this same coverage and this conversation at dawn. We said that because of all of these disagreements that has characterized the whole counting process, which is the most crucial process in all of this process of election, we knew that it was going to be a problem, a challenge for the Electoral Commission to meet this 24-hour timeline.
But
and both parties actually concede that there are some consensus that they have not
and
got clarity on.
considering the process that the EC said it had put in place, there was a possibility they could still have worked within the 24 or give or take a few extra hours, maybe 28 hours after polling, after polls closed. But it looks as if these concerns that have been raised by agitating parties, whether at the NDC or the NPP, because of a reason like that, the EC says they are extending. But I thought that if you're going to release this kind of statement, you should at least mention your new timeline or deadline that you're going to be announcing it.
But that's why they're saying it will be communicated. And you see, I think that the reason why they're not giving any timelines anymore is because already a lot of people were doubting if they could even meet the 24-hour timeline. Now, if they tell us we're going to announce it maybe in the next hour or two and some other issues arise, that's also going to now cast another shadow of doubt on the EC and the ability to announce.
The concern, and the NDC raised this concern that nobody has put a gun to your head to declare in 24 hours. So, and if you listen to what some of the election observer bodies like Odeo said, they were of the opinion that it would have been a beautiful surprise to the electorate if you had declared it in 24 hours without telling us. So right after the polls, we are all doing our analysis. Then the EC announces that after getting X number of confirmed votes, they are declaring within 20. That would have been perfect and a beautiful surprise. Everybody can go to bed and rest easy. But then they went ahead to say they will do it in 24 hours. They actually kept repeating it. But then the latest regarding the date or the specific time of declaring the election results, the EC says it will do that subsequently, but it will announce when it will do that in a short time. and goes on to talk about the fact that they are the only mandated state institution clothed with the powers to declare, especially the presidential results. However, if you've been following developments within the political space in the last 24 hours, you can tell that various constituency results have come in, painting a totally different picture from what speculations have also put out there, especially on social media, and the two main parties, the NPP and the NDC. In fact, few hours after polls closed, the NDC held a press conference saying they were in a lead and some of the constituencies they had flipped, as in constituencies they had regained because they were their earlier constituencies. They lost it in 2016. They were going back. They had won those constituencies back. Then, not too long after that, the NPP also held a press conference and said that they were actually leading. So I think it is good the EC has called both of them to order, saying that maybe respectfully follow what the Constitution says and allow the Electoral Commission to declare the results. Rest
But,
easy.
you know,
election
it's
commission
pretty
to
interesting, the bit about the flip and the flop. If you listen to the NDC, the constituencies that they said they had won back, a number of them are being confirmed, in fact, by the Electoral Commission, from what we're hearing right now. So, for instance, they mentioned Tema East.
Yeah.
Tema East, I recall, in that first press conference, Martin, that you referred to, they said that they have gained that constituency back. And that's been confirmed, as a matter of fact, by the Electoral Commission. So, I mean, in terms of the analysis of what they have been able to flip to them or regained, I mean, I'm talking about the NDC, you can look at the constituency by constituency, and I'm sure we're going to get into it. It tends to confirm some of the results that coming through now, as approved by the Electoral Commission. Tema East, both parties claimed victory. In fact, when Sammy Gyamfi addressed that press conference and put out Tema East as one of the constituencies, they have flipped to their favor. The NPP's follow-up press conference also mentioned Tema East.
Yeah.
In fact, when they were in the strong room, they mentioned Tema East. So then, in an instance like this, when both parties are claiming victory in a very, very, very clearly contested constituency, you'd want to wait for the Electoral Commission. And now we have it. With a surprise margin, anyway, almost 10,000.
That's the surprising part.
I mean, it seemed to have taken many by surprise, and that is not the only constituency where the numbers seem to have worked in favor of one party or the other. But certainly your Election Command Center will be bringing you specific constituencies, the ones that have, a lot of controversy surrounding them. The EC officials are themselves declaring. Now, this is one thing that many may not know. There were earlier counts which declared certain candidates winners. Then the EC had people who asked for recounts. So a number of the constituencies have had recounts, and that is why there seem to be shifts and changes in the numbers of who has won and who has not. And the surprise for me is maybe for every constituency, it should be counted at least twice before the final declaration is done, so that reporters and the many who have gathered there can go with one figure. Because then it keeps conflicting. You look at how long it took us to finally confirm that Bernard Okoboy, for instance, for the Lejokuku constituency, had lost.
In fact, for him, I understand that he was in, from information from some of the people on the ground, he refused to sign because he wanted a recount.
The pink sheet, you mean?
Yes. And so he was in his vehicle for a while, because as we put out earlier, all indications pointed, at least when it was getting down to the wire, that he was going to retain that seat. But then in the final lap of the counting, a lot of things started changing. And that clearly complements what, Martin, you were talking about. And that's why for us here on your Election Command Center, over the period, we are putting out the results every step of the way so that you can follow us as well every step of the way. And the provisional results that we have for all of these constituencies, as we put out earlier, because of some of these contentions and the challenges which has led to recount, you'll see some of the constituencies' provisional results that we put out earlier also changing in terms of the complexion of the look of the constituencies in terms of who's won and who's lost. When you zoom in into the constituencies, those who have lost, you clearly see, for instance, where we just left off, Tema East, where it was clear until a certain point that, look, it was going to go for Titus Glover. He also had, at a point, requested that some areas be counted again.
Yeah.
And that's the same recount we are seeing, the recount demand we are seeing in Dom Kwabenya as well, where the candidate, in fact, the agents have refused to sign some of the pink sheets or some of the results from some polling stations in Dom Kwabenya. The same situation repeated itself in the Pong Katamanso constituency as well. So you would have the first count, and then the results come through. And so when these provisional results are sent, for instance, then you base the analysis on that. But when there's a recount, you are sure that if the recount leads to a change, it would directly impact on these provisional results that we put out there as well.
True.
So how would the feeling be like, Alfred, for instance, you and Bella stand for a contest. After the first count, Bella is declared winner. And you know, the system we run for our parliamentary is first past. So if you just get one more, you win. And then Alfred demands for a recount. Then they count and Alfred wins. Should it be left there?
I would also demand another recount, and that means that the process is going to recur for God knows how long.
Endless recounting.
You know, that's the problem.
It is within their right.
Of course.
To demand.
But is there a limit? But is there a limit?
There should be
so
a
that we
limit,
won't have to go beyond 3 counts
yes,
or 4
counts.
I don't know about that. I've got to be honest. If there's a limit to the number of recount demands, maybe 1 to each if you have the major contender. So if it's between Bella and I make a demand for a recount, and Bella also wants a demand for a recount.
And that should be it.
That should be
it.
Right,
I want us to go back to Ewutu Senya East. I had wanted us to discuss that because I thought it was a little surprising. I thought that the odds were against Hawa Kumsin because of what had happened during the voter registration exercise, the fact that she had fired warning shots at one of the centers. And Nakoyo was very sure that because of that incident, it was going to go in her favor. But if you look at the votes that were cast, we have Honorable Kumsin getting 57,114 votes. These are the provisional, by the way. And Nakoyo also got 51,561 votes. And even though they're all in the 50s, there's still some level of margin between the two. And I thought that was quite surprising.
We probably would have to juxtapose this with the 2016 figures to get to know who has gained the most and whether or not the NDC candidate may have closed up. Then we can safely say that maybe the gunshot incident, etc., and all the other major concerns that were raised may have gone in the favor of the NDC candidate. But unfortunately,
I do have the numbers here. So in 2016, Honorable Hawa Kumsin obtained 34,656 votes. That was out of 59,918 valid votes cast. So she got 58.10%. And at that time, she went up against the MCE for Ewutu Senya East Municipal Assembly, Adams Huhu, and he represented the NDC, polled 24,373. So he represented 40.86% of the votes. And so you can clearly tell that the gap has been closed between Nakoyo and Honorable Kumsin this time around, as against what happened in 2016.
57, 51. Which means that although both of them have appreciated the NDC candidate got more numbers in terms of their appreciation, just that it wasn't enough to flip
and seat
the seat.
That's the word.
Yeah, I mean, right now you're either being flipped or you're flopping. That's the concern there. So if we are done with that, I want us to go back to...
I don't know if Alfred wants to talk about it,
something
but we can just move on.
Well, I think, Bella, you're right about the odds that you expected to go against Hawa Kumsin there, especially because after that incident that happened during the registration period, something else happened on election day. And so you would expect that some of these things were going to go against him. But I see how it played out. And so you can never make any absolute statements about some of these things and how the odds will go against a candidate. But what you're saying right now, videos of our data center and what's happening in there right now. Here's what we're doing. The constituency results that are coming in now is what now we are putting all together based on the provisional results we're getting and some of the certified results. We put some of the videos out there for you to watch and see the Electoral Commission officials officially declaring results that have been certified by them. So we input that data as well in there. So we are getting both the provisional results now and the certified results by the Electoral Commission officials. At least it's some that we have showed you now on your election command center. So based on as and when the results come in, trickling in as we speak, we will be holding on to it and continue to give you the provisional. And that's what we want you to bear in mind. And we have been reiterating this since we started this coverage for you, our viewers, that everything you're going to be seeing here is based on the provisional results that we're getting right now. The places where it's not very clear because there's demand for recount, we have marked them as well. And those areas we're looking closely and to see how that pans out. Yeah. Because earlier we put out then, based on the provisional results that came in earlier for some constituencies, it was pointing to a particular direction. Then the demand for a recount now flips it. Flip. If I say flips it, you know where it's going. Flips it to another, to a different, and then the other flopped. Okay, to a different direction. You see how
flip-flop. We're going into a new year with a new phrase.
New term. Yeah. So on your screens, very soon, the gentlemen and ladies in our at our data center are going through a number of the confirmed constituency numbers that are coming through. They are going through them and are putting them in beautiful graphics we'll be bringing to you shortly, where we can now be able to tell which party has won which region, whether entirely or by some number of constituencies. We'll bring you that analysis very shortly, where our gentlemen and ladies at the data center are crunching the numbers and trying to properly redesign the regions. And OT region, which has a total of 8 constituencies, has all those constituencies going to the National Democratic Congress. The NDC has won the entire OT region for presidential and parliamentary. We have details of that and more regions coming up. Which party has won the most in which of the regions out of the 16, now not 10, 16 regions. We have details of that as well coming up shortly. And then also, I wanted us to take a quick step back to the Ablekuma East constituency. But then the concern there for me is about Tema East specifically.
I think we went to Ablekuma at a point.
Yes, Central and Ablekuma North.
Yes. Central. Yeah, but the concern for me, well, if we go to Tema East, has to do with the number of rejected ballots. Unfortunately, we seem to have increased numbers in rejected ballots because of the total that have been counted. The EC official said that 641 so wide and clear that you possibly couldn't vote on 2 sets. But if you're still recording this number of ballot sheets rejected, then it means that someone or some persons either deliberately wasted their ballot or there were problems, because, you know, we have spoiled ballot and then rejected ballots. There's that difference. But this is not the only constituency that has this number of rejected ballots, 641. Now, if you add that 641 to what Daniel Nate Quatetatus Glover got, that is 4, that is 0, there's 12, 13.
It's not going to make any difference.
So yeah, it's not going to make much of a difference, but I would have appreciated his numbers, you know, looking at the closeness of it. Then maybe if he had asked for a recount, he might,
then that would have worked for him.
Or it might flop in his favor.
Well, the issue about rejected ballots, and I would go back to the issue of sensitization. invest as much into that.
Public
Because
education.
you can do everything you want on the ballot paper, try to create as much space for everyone so their thumbs can fit into the boxes where it's supposed to fit. But if you don't sensitize the people as much, then they're still going to end up making mistakes. And
Unless
that would
they
also
are doing
increase.
it deliberately.
Well, there could be that, but there could
Unless.
also be people who might not necessarily be doing it deliberately.
But over
and they could be very genuine
600
mistakes.
Over 600
Yeah.
rejected ballots.
There's a problem somewhere.
There's a clear problem
Yeah.
somewhere. And the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, CODEO, put out a preliminary observation of the December 7 elections, and the rejected ballots featured prominently in that preliminary report. Even though the Electoral Commission sort of threw more light on an already existing remedy to this sport ballot situation, we seem to have it as well happening again, and it's actually on the ascendancy. There is an aspect of the law that gives you, the voter, an opportunity to actually vote again. I mean, go and take another ballot paper if you show evidence that you made a genuine mistake in the process of voting. The electoral officer at the polling station will have to now assist you and give you another ballot paper.
But it happens only once.
Only once. So we do not know, obviously, if anyone of them went back and had it changed and then they spotted it
Probably
again.
spotted,
But
yeah.
you see, this measure has always been in the law, but there wasn't much highlight on it for people to even know that you actually have the opportunity to go and have a replacement of the ballot paper if you unintentionally spoiled or that ballot for it to be rejected, right? But you're spot on this issue with public education and sensitization. I kept talking about why we deprive the National Commission for Civic Education of funds. Until some less than 2 months to the election, and that it is donor agencies that are giving the NCC money for them to go around sensitizing the Ghanaian eligible voters on how to vote. Come on, we cannot do this to ourselves. In fact, the EC and the NCC, they share the same building. That's number one. They are supposed to work in tandem because one's work complements the other.
Yeah, but Alfred, you see,
for as long as
I totally respect the fact that yes, the NCC's
I wanted to even land at the point
is
well, let him land, and then maybe
I wanted to
okay. Because I think that we have almost always lashed out at the NCC for not doing.
We're not lashing out at the NCC,
not getting
but
the
rather
resources.
government
Yes,
for not giving them adequate resources.
And that is not just this government, subsequent governments. But who is the beneficiary if people turn out to vote and vote right? Is it not the parties or the contestants? They are supposed to also do the education.
Imagine
and
if
for that,
600
I'll
of
commend
those
the
votes.
NDC at least that the flag bearer John Dramani Mahama on all his campaign platforms, especially after he was placed number 2 on the ballot, had a dummy ballot behind him and showed the people. So that was part of the education.
That's not enough, Martin. That's
I
not
know,
enough.
but I'm saying
Martin,
that when you are doing your door-to-door,
this.
you need them to vote for you.
I don't think we want to make this
Yeah, but it's
mistake.
part of the education process.
The question is, did they, as they were campaigning, did they even educate them on the reason why
They
the campaign
did. They did. Yes, we have
as many
loads
times
of
as possible.
images. We have loads of images
issue
where
is that
they showed them
you're
where
right
to
on
vote
this
and maybe
about
the
the
folding,
political
etc.
parties also educating.
Yeah.
But they don't have to take the primary
That's not their
responsibility.
responsibility.
They are
Exactly.
only complementing
Alfred, and it's
the
our way
efforts
because then
of
No, it's not
at the
their-
end.
then why do we have the NCCE?
We do know.
Anyway,
but then
anyway, that's a
is
position we can
part
share.
of-
Yeah.
But that's William Evans Inkum is joining us from the Ashanti region now, and with some results from the Aswasi constituency. It's a place that he has spent the last 3-4 months studying the dynamics of this party going into this election. And William, it's good to have you. Good evening to you. I think it's evening now. And despite the issues that characterize the counting process, we understand certified results coming in from Aswasi now?
Absolutely, a satisfied result coming in from the Aswasi constituency at the moment. And one would say it is a total annihilation against the MCE, who in 2016 or as of 2016 was trailing with just 5,605 votes. But now he has the gap has been widened, or the margin has been widened to about 20,000 votes. And even in 2016, when His Excellency, the President of the Republic, had even won by marginal votes, this time around, the President also trading with some significant figures as far as Aswasi constituency is concerned. But let me just give you the presidential result, which has trickled in from the Aswasi constituency. So the NPP, which has been led by His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, garnered 35,240 votes. The NDC had 47,416 votes. And that is the irony of it, because in 2016, as I said earlier, the NPP's Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, for the first time since the creation of the Aswasi constituency in 2004, led John Dramani Mahama, even though it was slim, but it was significant achievement for the NPP, even though the parliamentary candidate lost. But that was also a gap closed. But this time around, it has been widened. If the results that have trickled in and the performance of the NPP is anything to go by, then we are talking about the Achoma Kwanwoma constituency. And I am not surprised, because the man in that particular constituency, Kofi Amankwa Menu, who is in charge of impact assessment at the at the office of the president, said he will ensure that he gives the president some maximum vote. And I can tell you that he has appreciated the gains of the president. It started from the registration exercise when he gave himself a target of over 100,000, and also giving the president some 90%. I can tell you that from about 42,000 in 2016, he was able to shoot the president up to about 77,000. And let me just run you through what happened in the Achoma Kwanwoma constituency. So the NPP had 77,828, and this is the presidential results. The NDC had 14,999. It is instructive to also know that anytime the NPP appreciates, the NDC also appreciates. And it is even started from the Bantama constituency, which is the political powerhouse of the NPP, or call it Florida. Now, this is the result, the presidential result from the Bantama constituency. The NPP had 57,360, and this is an improvement of 2016, when they were hovering around 51,000 during that particular election. The NDC, from 7,000 or 6,000, I suppose, is now running away with some 8,954 votes, and it means a lot to the opposition party. One particular constituency in 2016 that gave the ruling New Patriotic Party 90% was the Kwadaso constituency. In fact, apart from Kwabre East constituency, which of course holds the largest, electoral area as far as politics is concerned, with about 280 polling stations. That is the largest. Apart from the Kwabre East constituency, it is the Kwadaso constituency that has been given the NPP major votes. Now, here's what happened. Kwadaso gave the NPP in this particular election 61,908, which was an improvement, because in 2016 it gave the president from 57,000, 60,000. My guess is right. The NDC also appreciated their gains, and this time around they were able to secure 8,961 from the Kwadaso constituency. Now, if we come to the Efija Setre East constituency, the NPP, this presidential, the NPP had 42,989 votes. The NDC had 11,321. I am not mentioning the other political parties, because apart from GUM, that is making some level of showing on the as far as performance is concerned, the other vote garnered from the other political parties are not so significant. So that is why I'm not mentioning. But of course, since 1992, the battle has always been between the NPP and the NDC. So I think viewers will understand us in that direction. Now, Asante Achim North constituency, if you are talking about Anti-Achimno constituency, and then we are talking about Agogo, I mean, you're talking about the Fulani and the herdsmen and the conflict happening between the indigents and then the Fulani herdsmen because of destruction of their farmlands and all of that. Is a major issue as far as that particular enclave is concerned. And it is also a powerhouse, a political powerhouse for the ruling New Patriotic Party. Now, this is what happened in the just ended polls. NPP had 27,155 votes. NDC had 11,521. For the NDC, they have been making a lot of showings. I mean, as far as that particular constituency is concerned, so their performance hasn't been abysmal compared to constituencies like Kwadaso, Bantama, and the likes. Even there, they are still growing, I mean, marginally, and that is significant for the party. Subin constituency, the almighty Subin. So we are talking about Subin constituency, and we are talking about a constituency that before the election, a case will have to be brought from court, or if you like, the NPP will have to enter into an alternative dispute resolution because some aggrieved members of the party have sent the MP to court or held the MP in the dock of court because of primaries issues. I mean, the June's primaries issue and all of that, but that matter was settled. And this is what has happened after that. I mean, talking about just ended polls. So, Subin constituency, NPP had 43,051 votes. The NDC had 14,590 votes. He grew, but it wasn't so significant as far as the two political parties are concerned. For Ano North constituency, I think, okay, so I haven't mentioned Ano North constituency. Now, for Ano North constituency, these are the results of the presidential elections. NPP had 22,916 votes. NDC 18,903 votes. New Edubiase constituency. Well, this is the constituency that the NPP ruled in 2016. Of course, the current deputy minister of Agric, George Udro, has been asked as the member of parliament. So next parliament, we are not going to see George Udro because NDC has reclaimed that particular seat, and their performance wasn't only showing on the parliamentary, but they also performed well as far as the presidential election is concerned. So one would say table stand. So in the New Edubiase constituency, NPP had 17,713 votes. The NDC had 19,457 votes. In Suta Kwaman Peposo constituency, now the NPP, and if you're talking about this constituency, so the board chairman of GOIL, that is his constituency, the former Attorney General under the erstwhile Kufuor's administration, Honorable Prempeh, that is his constituency as well. He's also one of the political powerhouse of the ruling New Patriotic Party, and these are what they have for the NPP and NDC. So NPP had 22,043 votes. The NDC had 10,306 votes. Then to the Mampong constituency, and I'm sure it's ringing a bell because in the Mampong constituency, during the June's primaries, a lot of clashes happened between the former, member of parliament for that particular constituency was one time a contender for the presidential flag bearership as far as the New Patriotic Party is concerned, but failed. And so this is what happened in the Mampong constituency. NPP had 39,565 votes. The NDC had 12,380 votes. Then to Achuma Nwabioja South constituency, the NDC had 13,827. Sorry, the MPP had 58,109 votes. The NDC had 13,827 votes. And I just want to mention that again for emphasis. The NPP in the Achuma Nwabioja South constituency had 58,109 votes. The NDC had 13,827 votes. Edra Seche Dumase. So, This particular constituency has some interesting twists and turns because Bamba, people thought he was going to execute some level of poetic justice because when he was the member of parliament in the Adra constituency, that was in 2012, in 2016, the current member of parliament, Brima, won that particular constituency or snatched that particular seat from him. And Brima was coming in as an MC for the Adra Dumase constituency. The table turned beautifully. Bawa, who was once the member of parliament for Adra Dumase constituency, was contesting his, one would say, long-time foe, Brima, who is now the incumbent member of parliament. But this time around, he couldn't win. So the NPP had 25,079 votes. The NDC appreciated its gains to 30,254 votes. Then Asokwa constituency, and that is a constituency of the Deputy Minister of Innovation, the former Mayor of Kumasi, Madam Patricia Appiah, and 42 votes. Some political pundits have the belief that probably, had it not been the emergence of the independent candidates and all of that, probably the NPP could have won by even a bigger margin. But, well, that is politics for you because of these internal wrangling and all of that. But nonetheless, they were able to also appreciate the gains. The margin is not too bad as far as the Asokwa constituency is concerned. So, Martin, this is what I have for you from the Ashanti region.
Right. Okay. That's William Evans Inkum there in the Ashanti region. William, stay with me a bit because we want to have you run through the Bantama constituency. We didn't capture the full complement of the results there. The Bantama constituency, this is where a deputy chief of staff is also, Asenso Boachi, is contesting there as an MPP candidate. What happened there in the Bantama constituency?
So, Bantama constituency, the constituency known or christened as the Florida, as far as the ruling New Patriotic Party is concerned, had 57,360 votes. So that was the vote for the MPP. 57,000. This is presidential. This is presidential. And the NDC had 8,954 votes.
I see. But you don't have that one for the parliamentary as yet?
Well, I'm going to get that one for you.
Fantastic. That'd be great. And I appreciate it. It's interesting what we are seeing, especially in the new Dubiase constituency, where the NDC has claimed back that constituency. Is flipped to the NDC, winning that new Dubiase constituency back. And here's what is the deputy agric minister lost that seat, some 19,457 for the NDC, as against 17,713 for the NPP. I mean, defeating an incumbent and a minister certainly is not an easy feat for the NDC candidate in the New Dubiase constituency. Yep.
Certainly also be going back to the Ashanti region to speak to William Evans Ikum subsequently to tell us what kind of impact the 22 independent candidates that were drafted out or decided to leave or break away from the NPP. What kind of impact has that had on the total number of seats the NPP sought to win? There was the Agenda 47. It looks as if it was revised to Agenda 46, and subsequently with some of these numbers we are getting, it looks as if they may not have achieved that fully. But as to how many they won, how many they lost, how many the NDC got in the stronghold of the NPP, we'll definitely be looking at those numbers shortly when we go back to William Evans Inkum. He's still with us. Evans, stay with us. Let's come to your region and take this particular story that has to do with the Member of Parliament for Asawase, Mohamed Muntaka Mubarak. You told us that he had won by quite a huge margin. He retained the seat with a landslide victory. These are some pictures and video discussions that went on during that particular declaration and the process.
Alfi Seydou had 31,256 votes. Mohamed Mubarak Muntaka had 51,659 votes. Total valid ballots, 82,915. Total rejected, 632. Total vote cast, 83,547. With this, on behalf of the returning officer, the chairperson, we now declare Mohammed Mubarak Mutaka as candidate-elect as Aswanse MP.
I've always said it was not possible. I've always said it because I didn't see what they've done. And for anybody who knew my constituency, you don't need to be told how it has changed over the 16 years. Yes, I'm not an angel. I have my strength and I have my weakness. But I believe my strength far outweighs my weakness. And I believe the people of Aswanse really, really appreciate the effort they have been making, whether it's in parliament, whether it's in the constituency. So I knew from the word go that it was just a cacophony of some noise, but not because they were really bent on really taking it, especially lawfully taking it. We all saw the attempt they made. I mean, from the registration, trying to bus people in, we were fighting it, and all the headache. I believe God had been on our side. We were able to be victorious today, and we can only thank God for all His mercy and thank the people of Aswanse for this massive show of support. I mean, I least expected it. I knew I was going to win, but I didn't expect that out of 15 electoral areas, I was going to win 13 of the electoral areas, including Sipetimpum, which is one of the MPP strongest, and Asebe, which is also MPP stronghold, and Aswanse in particular, which is also MPP stronghold. Winning these 3 additional polling stations, electoral areas, it's very, very significant for me because it tells me that the constituency is unanimous in supporting me to continue the good work that I'm doing, and I'm forever grateful.
And that is a truly elated Muntaka Mubarak Mohammed, who has retained the Aswanse seat by quite a huge number, and was said that although he knew he was going to win, he didn't expect the numbers that turned out to vote for him. It is one of the constituencies sat comfortably in the stronghold of the NPP. William Evans Inkom is still with us. He is our Ashanti regional correspondent. William, walk us through how many constituencies you have now regarding the Ashanti region. How many has the party, the NPP, won? How many has the NDC won? And the independent candidates that broke away, how many, can you tell us, were able to, succeed in this journey that they embarked on?
Well, so it is very simple. The constituency of the Ashanti region has a total of 47 constituencies. The NDC now have 4 of these constituencies. So we are talking about they now control Niwe-Dubiase, they now control Edrase-Dumase, they control the Trafram Plains, which is Drobonso, and of course they control Aswanse constituency. Before this particular election, they had only 3 without the Niwe-Dubiase, but now they have the Niwe-Dubiase. So you can say that since 1992, their traditional constituencies, or the traditional constituencies that they have held or they have controlled, they now have all of them back. Now, Formina constituency, I've told you that Formina has now, one would say, the Formina has made an history. It was the only constituency within my triangular constituencies that was yet to make a history, because I told you that in 2008, the Kwai constituency voted for an independent candidate. At the same time, Bosome Frango constituency was also voting for an independent candidate in the shape of Ofori Kuragu. Now, Ofori Kuragu had won the primaries as an independent candidate after he splintered from his party, the NPP, because in 2004 he was a member of parliament for Bosome Frango constituency on the ticket of the NPP, but in 2008, 4 years after, he lost at the primaries, but decided to go solo because he thought that he had a very strong, political base as far as the Bosome Frango constituency is concerned. True to his words, he won, just like lawyer Andrew Esiama has won for the Formina constituency as an independent candidate So now the triangular constituencies, Bekwai has had or has produced an independent candidate who still is the member of parliament, even though he's gone back to his mother party, the MPP. Of course, lawyer Esiama is going back to his mother party. I can tell you without a shred of doubt, because even his last interview with Benjamin Edu, he told Benjamin that, look, I am going back to parliament to shake the hands of the Speaker of Parliament and tell him I am back. And one will say that thing has come to pass, because 2021, Siama is going to Parliament, not on a ticket of the MPP, but on a ticket as an independent candidate. But he is going to join the MPP in taking decisions or in voting for bills and what have you. So that is it. So now, the triangular constituencies, Bosome, which is up there, now has produced an independent candidate. Formena down there has produced an independent candidate, and Bekwai has also produced an independent candidate. Now, in your preamble, you made mention of you sought to know as to whether this whole thing might have affected the gains of the party. I mean, it is natural. I mean, the theory of politics, and I know political communication, which all the people said, Bella, you yourself, and Alfred understand, will tell you that if your base will be weakened, internal wranglings can contribute significantly to that weakening of the base. And Asuka constituency, MPP could have performed better had it not been the fact that a certain Eric, who was the former constituency organizer, went or contested as an independent candidate against a woman. I mean, he really fought for politically, to ensure that she becomes the next member of parliament for Aswanse constituency after Marcel Kofi Juma, who is now the chief executive of Jehok.
Okay.
Now you go to Bosom, the Bekwai constituency, even though lawyer Akwesi Ajima Mofa lost, but you cannot gloss over the vote that he also took away from his party, the NPP. Now, if you can't go to a place like Formina constituency, of course, Esiama won with a little over 12,000 votes against Kofa, Philip Ofori Asante having 10,000 votes. Okay. Assuming there wasn't any political internal wrangling, and Esiama's vote had also been added up to the president, the dynamics would have, the narrative would have been different.
Okay, William, I would certainly be, chit-chatting with you some more, because we have some other stories regarding the Ashanti region. This time